What's up, guys? T-Rex with House Rules Gaming here. So the initial thoughts within the college football 25 gaming community was that EA was going to give us the full reveal trailer on May 16th. However, they kind of pulled a fast one on us and dropped the covers on a Thursday and the teaser trailer on Friday, which I'm glad that they did give us something, but their post did say full reveal on Friday. So this does throw a huge wrench into how I plan on doing the giveaway, but it ultimately benefits you guys because initially I said no blog post information will count toward the giveaway. Now I've decided to change course on that, which, by the way, make sure you are subscribed so that you can make sure you have a chance to win a free copy of the game. So this is what I'm going to do. I had planned on doing this video to break down the trailer to see what details we had missed anyway, but I'm just going to roll this into my reveal bingo counter as well. So please make sure to check back for my updated counter after I finish combing through all of the post-trailer blogs for more details in my next video. So let's start this video off talking about some of the very highly fan-requested drip that we get in this video. Some of the first snippets of gameplay that we see when Wyoming is kicking off against App State. You can see the player like immediately to the right of the kicker with the crop top style of jersey. And you can see the crops showing up in a lot of other shots within the trailer as well. You can actually probably see it the best in the shot of the Pitt player dunking the ball, which I'm assuming is some kind of turnover celebration. Sorry, I don't really follow Pitt football like that. But yeah, it's nice to see that they added the crop to the game. Now, I'm not a huge fan of it, especially how they've modeled it here, which I don't like the fact that you can't really see the number on the front. At least when Zeke was rocking that look at Ohio State, you could still see his number 15 on the front of his jersey. And another popularly requested feature is having the players wear their pants above the knee, which as a player, I can understand why they like to do that because it does help increase mobility versus having the old school knee pads like covering up your legs. So it makes it a little bit harder to move. But it is cool to see EA include stuff like this in the game, especially since both of those things technically aren't allowed in the game. I know sometimes you'll still see players wearing their pants above the knee and like a slight crop, but I believe they did outlaw that a few years back, which, like I said, is dope to see them included in the game, even though they're not really allowed to do that anymore. But with both of those things being included, that really does lead me to the question of, could we actually get rushing the field in the game? Now, I do feel like that's something that's a highly requested feature that I believe if we actually had it, EA definitely would have showed it off in that sizzle trailer. But here's to still hoping. So this next shot was truly awe-inspiring. If you look, this lighting is just absolutely impeccable. I mean, from the first few shots of, panning over Howard's Rock and Death Valley and the inside the locker room at Boston College and Florida and LSU, it's just incredibly stunning looking. Now, if you look at this shot of Robinson taking that kick back for App State, like in the first little bit of gameplay that we see, you can see him actually turning his head, looking at the defender, which I believe is the kicker, trying to chase him down. Which, by the way, if you running away from somebody, do not, and I repeat, do not turn your head to look at them, because that's how you get caught. Unless you Tyreek Hill, probably Zach Branch too. But you can see him turning his head to look at the defender while he's running past him, and then you can also see what looks like the defender is struggling, like he's lifting his head back, like struggling to catch him. Which I don't think those two things are represented in the current Madden. So let's talk about live mascots real quick. So as you all saw, Bevo, the Texas Longhorns mascot, was featured in the teaser trailer, which I was actually glad to see because I recall reading an article a while back stating that the team in NCAA 14 had such a hard time putting together the animations for all the mascots. So my initial thought was, okay, cool. So that means we'll get all these animal mascots in the game this year. Well, then shortly after the trailer released, I got a notification from my ESPN app about an article detailing some of the things that the developers went through when they were making this game. And in that article, one of the production directors, Christian McLeod, made a statement saying that not all live mascots will make this year's game. So apparently some of the same struggles that they had back in 14, they still continue to have to this day when recreating those animations for those animals. Within that article, they talked about how they had to come up with entirely new animation rigs for all of these guys. There was one for cows, 4 different ones for dogs, and one for Ralphie, the Colorado Buffaloes mascot. Now this is actually really unfortunate, because that means that we won't be able to see some of the iconic mascots in this year's game, like the Sooner Schooner from Oklahoma, Mike the Tiger from LSU, Chief Osceola from Florida State, and the War Eagle from Auburn. Now, me personally, I probably would have been okay without the Sooner Schooner or even Mike the Tiger from LSU, because LSU has so much other stuff going on during their pregame festivities. But not having Chief Osceola planting the spear or the War Eagle flying in is a huge loss in the atmosphere department. Now, my hopes for that is that they can bring someone in that has experience dealing with a lot of those animal movements, preferably somebody from the Red Dead team, as they've done that type of stuff in the past, working with all different types of animal movement. But yeah, that's kind of upsetting to say the least. Now, this is something really cool that we don't get to see in Madden, and that's the team turnover celebrations. I like the fact that they show off quite a few unique ones, as well as one of my favorites when a team gets a pick, when they run down to the other end zone and pose for a picture. It just sucks now that the Hurricanes retired the turnover chain, because that was actually one of my favorite ones, period. So one of the few good facial close-up shots that we get of a player, that being Travis Hunter, you can actually see his facial model looks very similar to himself. Not enough to be like a face scan or anything, but like they really attempted to mold his face out of whatever headshot that was sent to them from other universities. And in that same picture, you can kind of catch a glimpse of what looks like a ski mask. It's really hard to tell based on the shading, but it definitely looks like he has something like covering his neck and on up to the sides of his face, which he is known to wear one of those in colder weather games. Now, for the most part, that was it as far as accessories go that I can point out, outside of obviously the new additions of face masks, helmets, cleats, things like that, shooter sleeves. But there was mention a while back that some of the players would be seen wearing hoodies, which I can honestly say I've spent I don't know how many hours going frame by frame through this trailer trying to find a picture of somebody wearing a hoodie, and I just could not find it. That was until earlier today I was watching Tubby Light's live stream, which shout out to Tubby Light. If you don't already, go over there and follow his channel too. But yeah, I was watching the live stream. I saw in the chat that somebody had mentioned something about a Wisconsin player wearing a hoodie. And this is one of those blinking you miss it moments. But I went back over the trailer frame by frame and just so happened to catch this. Now, everywhere else in the trailer where I thought I saw hoodies, it ended up being dreadlocks. But you can see right there, that's something that comes around the side of the jersey and just barely above the back of the helmet, but it also droops down, which a cowboy collar does not do that. So it's not a cowboy collar. Yeah, that absolutely looks just like a hoodie. It's so funny that they choose that's the only spot to sneak that in. So until we get further confirmation, these are some things that I think are most likely not in the game, based on the analysis of the trailer that we have on hand. Like I mentioned earlier, rush the field. Something as highly requested as that, which would be a popular choice to put in a sizzle trailer, them not adding it pretty much confirms that it's not in there, but I'm still holding out hope that we still get it. Next is going to be the live mascots I mentioned earlier. So like I said, they have rigs set up for all the dogs and Bevo and Ralphie. The ones that I don't think will make it are going to be Chief Osceola's horse, the horse from USC, and the Sooner Schooner. I don't think we get Mike the Tiger or the Razorback from Arkansas, as well as Ramses from UNC, nor the War Eagle or Big Spur from South Carolina. As far as accessories go, the main one I was looking for was the hanging mouthpieces, because not all players wear their mouthpieces every down of the game. And I scanned that trailer so thoroughly and I did not see a single one, and that seemed like something that they would include if it was in the game. So I don't think we get hanging mouthpieces in this iteration of the game. Now let's talk about crowds for a second. So I've seen online quite a few people were saying something about how Tennessee didn't have their checkered crowds. But there was that same ESPN article that I was mentioning earlier, that developer in there did say that the checker crowds are in there. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it is in the game. But what I don't think we'll see is dynamic crowd attendance, just because that would show negative toward the universities. If, like you say, your team isn't doing good and your stands don't fill up, I highly doubt that we get that. Granted, that's not something that they're going to really show off in a teaser trailer, but I really don't think that's in the game, because that was a huge thing a few years ago with Madden and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had shown that stadium at like a really low capacity, and then some people in the ownership or management group complained about it, so they've since then taken that out. I likely see that being the same case here with this. Now, this is something I really don't think we'll see, but it kind of stuck out to me when we saw that first opening gameplay scene with App State, but that would be dynamic seasons. Now, App State, in my opinion, has the most beautiful campus setting for their outdoor sports of any university. Being nestled in the Appalachian Mountains, you see both their football stadium and baseball stadium are surrounded by the forestry and trees in that area. Now, a real crazy attention to detail would be if they had the trees change colors with the seasons, like going into later fall when you start to get those pretty reds, yellows, and oranges within all the leaves. That would just be breathtaking to be able to see that. And that would easily make App State my favorite rebuild team in the dynasty mode. Like I said, don't think we'll get it, but development team, if you're listening, please consider doing that in the future. Now let's take a look at some of the weird observations that I had when I watched this trailer. Some of which I can explain, but some of these still have me scratching my head. Like I mentioned in the past, I'm a huge equipment guy. So I spent a lot of time like looking at all of the equipment in the trailer, and something that I missed, or let me rephrase that, something that I clearly did not see are players wearing some of the player exclusive cleats that we've seen over the past year. Most namely that were absent were the Air DT96, the Deion Sanders cleat that Shedeur Sanders famously wore last year. I didn't see that anywhere in the trailer, but also we didn't see Shedeur in the trailer at all either, so they may possibly be in the game, we just don't know yet. As well as the Zoom Generation 1 cleats that were modeled after LeBron James' first signature shoe that were player exclusive for Ohio State. Granted, we only have the one shot with an Ohio State player in the trailer at all, and from what I could see, they weren't wearing them in that. But again, these may be in the game, we just didn't get enough footage to actually say yay or nay. And even if they aren't, those two are things that I could possibly see coming later down the line in the update as well anyway. But on to the next thing, and that is something that sticks out like a sore thumb to me, and that is the pads sit way too high on the players. This has been a problem with the EA Sports football games for a while now. It's just way too big. You know, players nowadays, they like to be able to have that freedom of movement. They don't wear those big, bulky, tall pads like they used to anymore. They have more streamlined pads. Like you'll see right here, some of the guys that work for in the Madden modding community have went in and modded the lower pad height in that game, which is somewhat upsetting, the fact that we don't get a PC release on this thing, because I would like to be able to see some community mods come in and fix things like that. And not just the pad height, but also the poor mouthpiece alignment. In this picture here with Donovan Edwards, you can see that it looks like the mouthpiece is kind of morphed in his mouth a little bit, which kind of bothers me. Granted, like when we're playing, we really don't see the mouthpiece all that often, like in the middle of game action. However, in like cutscenes when we're outside of, in the menus when we're outside of gameplay, those types of things are noticeable, and it almost, puts me at a point where I may go in and remove the mouthpieces from all the players on my teams that have them. But again, this was something that was fixed by the people in the Madden modding community, so I know that it's possible. If those guys with mods can do it, the developers can do it too. Now, for the most part, I thought the player models throughout the trailer looked okay, until we get to that one scene with the Alabama linemen slowly walking up to the line. Those guys, I don't know what you would call that, but their proportions look terrible. Like I have never seen a lineman with shoulders that narrow and arms that skinny before in my life, especially not a lineman playing for Alabama. Now that could be just like the poor molding of the body shapes, because I know there was the sliders back in the older games where you could mold, the guy's arm sizes, leg size, things like that in the game, and it looks as though like it was just something generated from what they had, but that was absolutely something they should have looked at before they put this trailer out, because that just looked bad. And I thought they were supposed to have corrected a lot of those issues with that quote-unquote sapien technology that they were using in this past year's Madden, but it looks as though it's still here. It's not going to bother me that bad, but I'll absolutely be making some edits, or if I can find an updated roster file as soon as the game comes out, I'm definitely jumping on that. So prior to me making this video, or finishing this video I should say, I was watching Eric Rayweather's Details That You Missed video on this game, or on this trailer, which, by the way, if you don't follow him, please shoot over to his channel and give him a subscribe. I'm pretty sure most of you guys do at this point, because he is one of the larger football YouTubers out there. But he had mentioned something about, in this scene with Syracuse, you could actually see the guys on the sidelines holding up the play call sheets, like the signs that they use, which I thought was a great detail to add. And it really shows that they, thought so far as to go in and add those things to it. However, this year they actually just started to allow in-helmet communication for players. Now I know that not every team will be able to use it, just due to financial reasons and how much it's going to cost to implement that stuff. But it is there and it's available. So I can't imagine that a school like Syracuse wouldn't have the financial backing to be able to put those in the helmet. And yes, you can see that it is Syracuse's sideline, as you see the players on the side wearing the same gear as the running back right here in front of us. Now, I don't know if you would call that an oversight, or if it's still just like a detail that they just wanted to add, just to add a little extra oomph. I'm cool with it, but it was dope to see Eric mention that, and then it got me to thinking. I was like, wait a minute, they did add helmet communication. Why is that there? But nonetheless, it doesn't bother me, but it is in the game. Now, I do need to mention this because I've seen some people complaining about it, but it's not as big of an issue to me. And that is, there were, several instances of reused animations. Specifically, the one I saw called out the most was that juke animation in the beginning. And look, I've been playing college football games at the very least dating back to 2006. The Madden and the college football team have always shared resources. There are different developers and they code the game differently, but the resources that they share with the animations have always been the same. Now, obviously, this is going to tie into my next thing, which is you're going to have unique animations for the college football game, because there are things different about how college football is played and how professional football is played that warrant having those extra animations in a college game, like the 1 foot in catching animations. As you all know, in the NFL, in order for a catch to be ruled a catch, you have to have 2 feet inbound. In college, it's only 1. Which you can tell that they showed that off with the LSU catch, that they have that library of animations for 1 foot in catches. Yes, the game looks like Madden somewhat, not all the way, but that is not the problem, because Madden is a visually pleasing game. They have done their best to make the game look good. The problem would lie in is if the gameplay felt exactly like Madden. Yes, there will be some reused animations, that's a fact, but there will also be more than enough new animations and differences in how the game plays, strictly because it is a college football game, that it won't matter. But yes, just thought I'd point that out and get that out the way. Now let's continue. Now, this was a problem for me initially when I saw it, but as I've sat on it a little bit more and actually recalled a conversation that I had overheard with a former video game developer, and that is on that same LSU catch, you can kind of see how that defender that's in there took a bad angle and should have been in well enough space to make a play on that ball, or at the very least disrupt the catch some more. But then I reflected on that conversation I had mentioned with the former video game developer. when these companies put out these sizzle reel highlight trailers, their main focus is to capture specific moments within that game. Specifically speaking, if they want to highlight that catch, there's things that they can do within the game's engine to move that defender out of the way to interrupting that animation that they want to happen, just so they can capture that one specific animation. Now, I know that bad pursuit angles have been a legacy issue in football games of the past. I'm gonna reserve judgment on this one for now. Obviously, I have the right to change my mind on that once we actually see more actual gameplay, but did want to shed a little bit of light on that one. Now, these next two things could potentially very much be egregious oversights or something cool that we don't know much about yet. Let's start off with this one. So throughout the trailer, you can clearly see some Nike branded footballs being used. And then in some of the screenshots that we got after the trailer released, there was the one with UCLA playing USC, and UCLA is using a Wilson football, which on its surface is okay, dope. We actually get multiple branded footballs within the game. Obviously, there's different schools that wear different uniforms. But then it dawned on me, UCLA is a Jordan brand school. Jordan brand is a subsidiary of Nike. And in a clip toward the end of the trailer, you can see their running back Harden, I don't know his first name, which is a beautiful shot, but you can see that looks like what he just scored a touchdown. He's hyping up the crowd. You see the football on the ground, that's a Nike football. So if he's using a Nike football in the trailer, why do they have a Wilson football in the screenshot? This is either A, major oversight, or B, we may have some level of choice as to what football we use in the game. Or better yet, there's the added depth of each team will be using their own separate footballs, and you can actually see that represented in the game. It's still too early to find out. I really would like to know what happened here. But yeah, really thought that was odd. And last but certainly not least, this was something that was brought to my attention by another member of the Trasher Football server, which, by the way, if you aren't following Trasher Football, please go over there and subscribe to his channel. He's been a big help to this community with all the interviews he's done with Matt Brown and getting some information for us. So do that man a solid. So somebody over there pointed out how in the Miami Hurricanes screenshot, when the guy is throwing up the U, there's 2 number 4s in this screenshot. Now, yes, this is college, so guys are allowed to wear the same number as long as they're on 2 different sides of the ball. The problem with that is this looks like a turnover celebration. And why are there 2 players wearing the same number in a turnover celebration if they both can't be on the field at the same time? Now, again, this is likely either a major oversight, which I wouldn't be surprised with this one, because even in NCAA 14, you would have those weird pre-rendered animations at the beginning of before you even start the game, that would have a defensive player look like he was lining up as quarterback behind the line, making changes at the line, which was a big problem with a lot of those pre-rendered animations of pre-game, of them showing off the game before the game has actually even happened, which I never was a big fan of anyway. Or B, this is representation of players coming off the sideline to celebrate with their teammates, but I highly doubt that. Okay, now let's see how we did on our bingo. First up, it looked like we did get 3 different covers. We got the standard edition, the deluxe edition, and the MVP edition, which we didn't see that full cover, but they did give us a little sneak peek of it, which I believe we'll get the full reveal of both covers once Madden cover gets released. So we'll go ahead and give you guys that one. Next up is the release date. So technically the release date is the 19th. So this is what I'm gonna do for you guys. I'm gonna actually mark both spots off because it's right on the 19th. I thought we were actually gonna get it the week before that, but we'll go ahead and mark both spots for you guys, because we do get some early access bonus if you get the deluxe edition of the game. Next up, unfortunately, the trailer did not last over 8 minutes long, so that does give me 1 space marked off, but not in a very helpful spot. We did, however, get the actual multiple broadcast teams announced. albeit not in the fashion that I would have liked, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you guys anyway, because I do think that that's going to be game changing from what we've been experiencing in football for the last few years. And lastly, we did get team builder confirmed, not necessarily in the trailer, but since it was one of the first things that I saw in the blog post, I'm gonna go ahead and mark it off right now just so we don't waste any time with it. Oop, and I almost forgot, we did get some sort of playoff mode announced, albeit we don't have very many details about it, but I'm interested to see what that looks like. I'm not the biggest online guy in the world, but I'll probably try it out a few times. But yeah, I think it's fair for us to go ahead and mark off that playoff only mode spot too. All right, so what do you guys think? I think y'all are in a pretty good spot to win 2 copies right now, as the mascot mode was heavily hinted at with the amount of mascots that we have in the game, as well as I would really hope that they would give us some kind of Heisman challenge a la NCAA 13. And once we get more information on the Dynasty mode, I could really see them adding that adjustable recruiting and the fully custom conferences, but only time will tell. Hopefully we'll get more details on those in the next few weeks. But as of right now, the current copy tracker has us sitting at 0. Really close to 2 copies though, but you have to check back to see what the counter is at after I go through the copious amount of blog posts that we got over the last few days. And with that being said, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Please let me know down in the comments if you guys saw anything else in that trailer that I might have missed. I'm really interested to see what else out there. And if you like this type of content, please hit the like button, subscribe to the page, and turn on notifications so you don't have to miss a thing. Stay blessed, y'all. I'm out.